What's up, Night Owls? I got a fun video for you today. Recently, someone in the Discord posted that they needed help prepping for a session that was 6 hours away. 6 hours is a lot of time to prep for a session, especially if it's just gonna be a regular 3 to 4 hour session. Now, believe me, I have spent more time preparing for a session than the session would actually run. More than once I've done this, but with 6 hours, you can get a lot done. So this kind of inspired me to make a video and to challenge myself to see how quickly I can put together a session, just sort of my thought process, like how I would put together a session with minimal time and then make a video out of it, just so you guys can see like how I would do it. I have not prepared for this video at all. I have a blank piece of paper and a pen here. I'm just gonna write down some notes. That way I can organize it to help edit the video. I have my phone. It is 9:57 a.m. Let's get started. So the very first thing that I do when I'm preparing for a session, whether it be a one shot or an ongoing campaign, is I decide on a boss. Now, boss implies that it's some kind of creature that you're gonna fight and there's gonna be a combat, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. It could just as easily be a puzzle, some kind of cinematic event, a role play encounter, whatever you're feeling. For the purposes of this video, it's gonna be a creature that the party has to fight. Notice I haven't said anything about level, CR, anything like that. That's because it doesn't matter. You can change the stat block. What we want right now is just a foundation, just a baseline to go off of. As for what our boss is going to be, doesn't matter. Just pick a monster. Does not matter at all. Whatever seems cool to you, whatever looks interesting, whatever your favorite short is that I've done, just grab a monster and we're going to build an encounter off of that. Again, we can adjust this monster stat block for our party's level when the time comes. Okay, so for this video, we need to pick a monster to be our boss fight. This is really important because, again, this is where everything is going to lead, and it's also going to set the theme of the session. So, and I kind of want it to be an extreme example of like what you can do with just the boss. Like I kind of want to go with Goblin, just because it's like a low level. Usually they're in groups, but I want to make a boss out of a Goblin. That could be a fun one. Or actually, you know what? What was the last short that I did? I'll just like randomly pick whatever the last short that I did. What was it? Oh my gosh. It was Living Spells. Oh no. Okay. So this is going to be interesting. Our boss is going to be a living spell. What do I do with this? Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is look at the list of spells, see what we're dealing with here. So the thing about spells is they're usually like one and done. They like go like a fireball goes off and then it's done. So I want a living spell. I'm thinking illusion, because illusion actually can actually manifest itself, and you can do a lot with that. So an illusion spell that will act as our boss, a living illusion spell. Let's see here. Phantasmal Force would be great because that is an illusion that actually attacks. Wait. Phantasmal Killer. Our boss is going to be a living phantasmal killer. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar, the Phantasmal Killer, you tap into the nightmares of a creature you can see, create an illusory manifestation of its deepest fears visible only to that creature. That's our boss. Oh, that's going to be so good. So immediately, so right off the bat, the first thing I'm thinking of is like a killer clown, spiders. What's scary? Dolls are scary. There's some good dolls, and there's one in Van Richten's, what is the name of it? The doll that pins your soul, it like sucks your soul out with the pin. Carionette, I think is what they're called. Okay, spiders, killer clown, dolls, everything. So fear is the theme of our session. This looks good. We're looking good. Phantasmal. Our boss is a living phantasmal killer. Fear is going to be the theme. We're at 10:04. What I'm thinking is the party enters a doll room, like a room with a bunch of dolls. You know, that's just the creepiest environment ever. You walk in, all the dolls are just staring at you blank-eyed. That's going to be our boss room. We could do multiple phases of this encounter, like spiders show up and then the killer clown. We'll say the killer clown is the actual boss. That's like the final manifestation of our phantasmal killer. It's just this killer clown. It looks like it. We can grab some art of Pennywise. We've got a swarm of spiders. We've got dolls. That's our boss. That's our encounter. Boom. So we're going to build the entire session. The goal is to lead up to this encounter with the killer clown, the phantasmal killer. So how do we get there? Our boss needs a lair, which is going to act as our dungeon. And we want to keep the creepy doll room. So it could be a wizard tower or a mansion, or we could make it a little bit more interesting than that. Anywhere where we can put dolls would be fantastic. Like having that doll room as the boss room. I think I'm going to go with mansion. So our dungeon is going to be a mansion. Here's what I'm thinking. The phantasmal killer is going out from this mansion into town and killing people with their greatest fears. And the mansion is sort of its base of operation. All right, so now that we have our lair, we need to decide where this thing came from. So it's a spell that's alive. We could say a wizard created it on accident, and the wizard can be the owner of the mansion. Maybe the phantasmal killer became living and then killed the owner, and now the mansion is abandoned. Actually, here's what I'm thinking for this mansion. A family of nobles lives here. They're creepy, they're reclusive, and the matriarch is a wizard that accidentally created this phantasmal killer. We're set. So with this information in front of me, my mind is going to the Addams family. And you can just copy and paste them right onto this family, and there you go. You've got the Addams family right in front of you. They are who live in this mansion, and the mom created the phantasmal killer. As a matter of fact, we can go so far as to say that the phantasmal killer has already wiped out the family and is now working on the town. This also creates an opportunity for the town to suspect the family, and then there be this crazy twist at the end where it's actually a spell that got loose and wiped out the family. So you could imagine the party being in town, finding out about these killings that are happening. The town suspects the Addams family. The party goes to investigate, and the Addams family is dead. What happened here? I like that. So just to recap, because I was kind of all over the place, the first thing we created was a boss. We're going to go with a living phantasmal killer. Fear is going to be the theme of our encounter. The lair for our boss is going to be a noble family's mansion. The noble family has been wiped out. We're theming them after the Addams family. The mother is a wizard. She accidentally created the phantasmal killer, wiped out the family, and now our phantasmal killer is creeping into town and killing the townsfolk, and they don't know what to do. This is our plot hook. The party's going to walk in while this is going on, and they need to solve that issue. Now we need to create a road that takes them to the mansion. We're at 10:12. I'm going to go get some more coffee. Now, normally what I would do right now at this point in my prepping is I would go find a battle map for this specific mansion. I love maps. I would want to lay the map out, put it on Roll20, and then start filling it with encounters. I'm not going to do that yet. We're going to wait till later because we want to do. The idea is we're prepping a session as fast as possible, and we want to use really broad strokes across the session. First, to just kind of have a outside, just kind of like broad overview of what's going on, and then we could start filling in details. That's the key. That's how to be efficient with your time when you're prepping a session, is to go big picture. That's what I'm trying. Big picture, and then fill in the little details. You can zoom in on specific parts like the mansion. So right now, with very little time, we've got our mansion. We're going to use theater of the mind. We're just going to imagine a mansion and use theater of the mind. If we have more time, go find a battle map, fill it up. So how do we get the party to the mansion? I'm thinking that the party arrives in town while there's a murder investigation going on. The murder just happened. That gives the party a chance to find out what's going on immediately and then see that something's not right with the town. So the party arrives at town and they see a house that is completely surrounded by guards and investigators. We'll say that a murder happened at this house the night before. The guards and a team of investigators are here to find out what happened. This is a potential role play encounter. So one thing that I do when I'm preparing a session is you want to have role play, a combat, and a puzzle. Try to have at least one of each of those: combat, RP, puzzle. Now you can cut one of these depending on the group. Some groups may not like combat, they just want RP. Some may not like puzzles. It's up to you, but try to incorporate each of those. This starting area where the party arrives is going to be an RP encounter with the investigators. Now, with that being said, we can have a persuasion check to maybe go inside the house and see what happened. Otherwise, they're just going to have to talk to the investigators to find out what happened. Also, the investigators, you want to give them a personality. My mind goes straight to the movie Seven. That's a good horror movie with investigators. You got Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. If you haven't seen the movie, Morgan Freeman is a detective, seasoned, wise. Brad Pitt is the new guy, and he's energetic, brash. So you can kind of see whenever I create an NPC, I immediately just assign like an actor or a personality to them. That kind of fills it out for you. You don't have to really develop them. You don't have to develop a backstory. You can just use what you pull from what you know. And then you can change it as you go if you have a better idea. But for right now, this is Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt investigating a murder outside of a house. And remember, your goal is to push the party towards the mansion in an interesting way. Now, our boss is a phantasmal killer, so I want to, and fear is the theme of our session. So I want to have that show up in this particular investigation. If the party investigates what's going on in this house after this first murder, then there needs to be something off about it. The man that lived at this house drowned in his own home. The phantasmal killer showed up and basically filled his house with water and drowned him. The investigators are confused by this. As a matter of fact, when the party shows up, the roof is dry, the outside is dry, weather is clear, the grass, the ground is dry, but on the inside of the house, all of the furniture is just soaked. And if the party doesn't pass that persuasion check to get in the house and investigate themselves, the guards could be removing furniture from the house and bringing it outside, and then the party can see that like the couch is just soaking wet, dripping, and any furniture that gets brought out is just completely wet, soggy, firewood, like the entire house has just been drenched. So this will be our first clue for the party that something magical happened. This is not natural. If I'm running a group that's more combat focused, at this point, I would probably design a combat encounter inside the house. Maybe the guy comes alive as a zombie, as some kind of drowned zombie and attacks, or better yet, an aquatic creature is in the house. All right, think about this. The party goes into the house. They search. Everything's drenched. Everything's soaking wet. They can see seashells and small aquatic creatures, fish all over the ground. So it looks like this house was underwater at one point. And then the party opens a closet and a shark falls out of the closet and just starts flopping around on the ground. And that's a combat encounter. That is a solid hook. How did this shark get here? Like, a shark is exciting. It fits our fear theme. You could give the shark enough speed to like move around the room. Maybe it flops around and bites at the party. There's a lot to this. This house is drenched. There's a shark in there. Somebody drowned in their own home. But what happened? At this point, we've got a pretty good baseline for our first encounter. We've got roleplay. We've got a combat with the closet shark. And now I want to push the party to the next murder so that they can gather more clues. And this is a murder that has happened in the past. So this murder that they're investigating right now with the drowned guy is just happened, and the town is concerned. Murders have happened before, and at this point, the party can start investigating those. How about a farmer who... So as soon as I said the word farmer, my mind immediately went to a cornfield or a wheat field, and our theme is fear, so gotta have a scarecrow. Scarecrows have these claws that they can like shred people apart. So what I'm thinking is the farmer's wife was murdered by a scarecrow. But because it's our phantasmal killer, there was no scarecrow left behind. So the town suspects that the farmer did it, and he is now arrested. The farmer's in prison. His wife is shredded by a scarecrow. The party can go and investigate this farm, or they can go talk to the farmer and ask what happened. The party already knows something magical is going on. There's no way a farmer did this. So they might go investigate the farmer to see what happened. Or they may hear some rumors around town about the farmer having an argument with his wife the night before, and then suddenly she turned up dead. She was actually killed by the scarecrow, but the town is convinced that the farmer did it, and now he's in jail. The party can go ask questions, and they can find out about the scarecrow, or you can kind of hint at some kind of magical things. But the key takeaway is you can create stakes from this by saying that the farmer is going to be executed soon, unless the party finds out who the actual killer is and brings that information to town. So this creates stakes. Originally, the stakes were like, we got to save the town, but now there's a farmer who is innocent. The party believes is innocent that's going to be executed soon. So there's some more stakes for you. So the party's got to save this farmer. I forgot to mention loot. We need to put some loot in that house. If we're going to fight a shark, if we're going to pass a persuasion check to get inside the house and then fight a shark, a closet shark, we need some loot. So I'm just going to write loot ? Down, and then we'll fill that in with excess time, which, by the way, we are at 10:29. So the scarecrow killed the wife. The party's going to go investigate. We can say that the field, what did I say? Cornfield. It could be a wheat field. The field is magical. And when the party goes inside this field, they get lost immediately. Just like some kind of magical illusion spell that causes them to get lost within this field. So that would be an interesting encounter. You can have, I think it would be really fun for them to encounter an actual scarecrow, not the monster. And then they're like really hesitant. So the party goes into the field. They get separated immediately. They can't find each other. They're just lost in a cornfield. One of the party members finds a scarecrow. And of course, they don't want to engage the scarecrow by themselves. They want the party with them. But it turns out this is just an actual scarecrow. It's not a monster. You could also put a chest in the cornfield, maybe a lockpick skill, wild animal, anything. You can have some kind of encounter in that field. So at this point, I feel good about our farmhouse encounter. We've got the underwater house. We've got the farmhouse. I think we can do one more house that will finally put the party on the path to the mansion. What will our third murder be? How about a little kid's parents were killed and she saw it by oozing walls. Oozing walls are creepy and scary. So now the party has to go question the little girl who is like scarred. You have to be careful with fear being your theme because you don't want to upset anyone. You don't want to go too far. Questioning a little girl about her dead parents may cross some boundaries with some groups. So you know your group better than I do. Maybe instead of her parents, the phantasmal killer killed her pet and you got to question, or the family, like the family pet was killed and you got to question it. You can lighten the mood or darken it depending on your group. And again, this is just because fear is the theme. Fear ended up being the theme because phantasmal killer just kind of called to me. But yeah, for this point specifically, I'm going to gauge how dark this will go depending on the group that I'm running. If it's a brand new group that I've never run before, I would probably just like have the family pet die. So at this point, we are looking good. The party has all the information they need. And so they suspect that magic is involved because like the oozing walls. Also, you could have a combat encounter. If your party wants more combat, I would probably have the scarecrow. If I'm running a party that wants a lot of combat, I would probably have the scarecrow actually be a scarecrow. They can fight a scarecrow. The ooze in the walls actually be an ooze. And then at this point, the party knows something magical is going on. The underwater house, they were lost in the cornfield, and then the oozing walls from the third murder. We know something magical is going on. And they don't even really have to cover all three of these houses. This is just dependent on time. Now, at this point, you want the party to end up at the mansion. So everywhere they go, any questions they ask, you want them to point to the mansion. For example, let's say the party goes to the tavern and starts asking the bar patrons or the barkeep, and they keep talking about strange magical occurrences. This will kind of act as a keyword for the NPCs to tell the party like, oh, there is this creepy family down the road that lives in this mansion. We don't hear much from them, but they're known to do some creepy stuff with magic. I'm also thinking little kids outside playing, and if the party asks them a question, the kids will tell them we're not allowed to play near the mansion down the road because my dad says that the family there does weird stuff with magic. You can do the same thing with guards. Basically, anyone the party asks, you want to come up with some kind of story about strange magic emanating from the creepy noble family, the Addams family, down the road at this mansion. With all that there, the party knows where to go. Go to the mansion. And that's it. That's really all you need. That is the framework of a session. Everything is laid out. You have the beginning and the end. We got that out in under an hour. It's 10:39. I don't remember when we started, like 9:57, I think. That's it. So you have a session. All you have to do now is use your free time, use the rest of the time, I should say, not free time, the rest of your time to flesh out each of these events. We have 3 houses. Each of them have a murder. The drowned house, the farmhouse, and the oozing walls. Each of them have a murder. And then we have the mansion. We need a battle map for the mansion at least, and you want to fill out that battle map. We have a boss fight, the living phantasmal killer. The killer clown needs a stat block. We've got swarming spiders. We've got the carionettes, the dolls. We have several NPCs that need dialogue, need interactions and personalities. We've got Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. We've got the little girl that the party's going to talk to, the farmer in prison. So start fleshing these out. Come up with personalities for them. You have a pretty good idea of the direction that the party's going to go with this information. So you want to start going ahead and getting ready with how these NPCs are going to respond to specific questions. The little girl is going to respond differently than the farmer in the prison, and he's going to respond differently than the investigators. Also, with any extra time I have, I would write descriptions for each house and each event. I would go ahead and just start writing. If you've ever run an adventure module, you know they have these little paragraphs that you read out to the party. I'd go ahead and start writing those. Write a description for the house, the drenched furniture, the closet shark, the oozing walls, the scarecrow, and then the mansion itself. Whenever I'm running a dungeon, I try to have a description for every single room. So whenever the party transitions to a new room, I go ahead and read this brief 2 or 3 sentence description to kind of this gives you a chance to like prepare a room. You can write out the description. If you don't like, you can rehearse it. It flows so much cleaner, but that's with extra time. A battle map. We need a battle map for that mansion. Fill it with stuff. Decide on what room the dolls are in. That's your boss room. Come up with stat blocks for your killer clown, your spiders, and your dolls, and your set. That's a session. That's a session in under an hour, plus that extra time I was just talking about. We'll throw in another hour to fill out the stat blocks and find the battle map. As for battle maps, r/battle maps is great. There's a few Steam apps that I use personally, or apps that I have on Steam. Dungeon Alchemist is great. Dungeon Painter Studio, Dungeon Draft. I've used all of these. Tabletop Sim, Tailspire, Photoshop. You can create your own map. Depending on time, create your own map. Use one of those. There's also Dungeon, which will generate random maps for you. You can fill these out yourself too. These are great. So there you go. I hope this video was helpful, kind of giving you an idea of how I prepare for sessions. I'm not saying that my way is the most efficient, but I think that it definitely works for me. I love creating the ending, creating the boss fight first, just picking a monster, and then building an entire theme around that. And I think that this particular session with the Phantasmal Killer, the living Phantasmal Killer, is really cool. I really like this idea. I would love to put this together like truly and run it one of these days, just see how it goes. We did that in under like the whole thing in under an hour. It's great. I probably could have done it even faster if I didn't have to like record a video and redo some stuff. Like probably throwing something together a lot faster. But I mean, an hour is great. An hour, like I'm really happy with how this turned out. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments if there's any feedback you have for how I prepare for a session. If you have something more efficient, perhaps, I would love to hear it. Any tips that you may have for DMs that are strapped for time and want to prep their session efficiently, let me know in the comments. Make sure you follow the channel, and I'll see you at sundown.